Alright, here we go. The third quest from the Wilds of Ravanian Deluxe Box, The King's Quest, Side 1A, the Iron Hills. Lots of setup, so we're just going to go through it together. The last sentence tells us to discard cards off the top of the encounter deck until we get a location or enemy. We do that after we draw our opening hand. So you create the Caves deck. You use all the locations with that encounter card symbol, and you create a separate deck you set aside that you will be grabbing locations from whenever you travel somewhere that has the deep keyword. So I gave that a shuffle. The dragon and the dragon's horde get set aside out of play. And then these 4 encounter cards from this encounter set get set aside to be shuffled in later. So those are all nasty. And let's take a look at our heroes before we keep doing setup. So it's dwarves. I got Biffer. Of course, he's a dwarf. 2, 1, 2, 3. And then you can move a resource from another hero to him. So he will help you pay for more expensive lore cards. And then I also have Nori, also a dwarf, 2, 1, 2, 4. And then whenever you play a dwarf ally from your hand, you reduce your threat by 1. Very important in this quest. You need threat reduction in this quest. So that's why I went with dwarves. And then new to the series, Thorn Oakenshield. He's 12 threat, 3, 3, 1, 5. And then if you control 5 dwarves when you're collecting resources at the beginning of the round, he collects an additional 1, which is great with Biffer because then you could pass it to Biffer if you want to. So why am I going with dwarves? Well, this is a very difficult quest, and you have to raise your threat a lot. And there is an awesome card called Ever My Heart Rises that works with dwarves, and it helps reduce your threat. Nori helps reduce your threat, and it's really good tech against this quest. I've also included Gonbury Gone, who is amazing tech against any quest that use the cave deck. So this is one of those quests where you do need to do a little deck building if you want to have the best chance of beating it. And I'm going to talk about how you can easily deck build for certain quests after I show you a loss. So after I get done shuffling here, I'm going to show you a loss that happened with this very powerful dwarf deck. So it just shows how hard this quest actually is. Normally dwarves can just steamroll a quest, but this quest can beat a dwarf deck very easily. But let's take a look at side 1B so you can understand why this is so hard. So 0 progress needed. Forced, at the beginning of the quest phase, discard cards from the top of the encounter deck until a location is discarded. Either add that location to the staging area or raise each player's threat by X, where X is that location's printed threat. This stage cannot be defeated unless there are 3 locations with victory points in the victory display. So that means in a solo game, we are always revealing basically 2 cards. One is either going to raise our threat or add a location, and then our normal card we're revealing in the staging step. In multiplayer, it's not as bad because it's just 1 card for the group. But in solo, you're doubling your cards you're revealing, and that's why you need a tough deck to take on this quest. And here is the loss. So I am not doing bad. You can see my board state looks pretty good. I'm playing Miners of the Iron Hills to get rid of condition attachments. I'm got card draw on the table, but I'm engaged of a werewolf. I already have 3 locations up in staging. I have a nasty location that makes me reveal a treachery every round until I clear it. So in addition to either adding a location to the staging area or raising my threat, I also need to reveal a treachery. So I have a lot going on in the quest phase. Even with Nori and Ever My Heart Rises, my threat is very high. The treachery I find makes me surge, so I surge into a bat, and that bat's going to surge into a location, and I still haven't even revealed my normal card yet, and I'm already underquesting by a ton, and I'm dead. There's just no way I'm going to pull out of this. So that's how you can easily lose with a dwarf deck against this quest. You really get overrun because sometimes you're revealing 3 encounter cards a single quest phase. And yeah, I'm going with dwarves. I know dwarves have been played a decent amount on this series. I have a lot of lineups with dwarf heroes, but they weren't true dwarf decks. There has been a couple of videos that are just dwarves, but I'm telling you, man, this is a hard quest, and you need to bring tech for it. This is definitely one of those quests where if you just show up with a regular deck that doesn't have some cards specific for this quest, you're going to struggle. And I know some people don't like to deck build every single quest, and you really don't have to. You don't need to always deck build. So you could just have most of your dwarf cards like Legacy of Durin and Lure of Moria and a bunch of the dwarves all together, and then if you realize, oh man, this quest I'm playing is really hard and dwarves would be good, you just grab that. And if you need to add a few more cards to it, you would just have your deck ready to go. You don't need to always break down your dwarf deck or your Sylvan deck. Those cards pretty much always stay together. So I decided to go with dwarves against this quest because there are a couple dwarf cards that are absolutely amazing against this quest. So let's see if we drew any. We get our shield, we got a couple, we got 3 dwarf allies, Gaunberry Gone, and Ever My Heart Rises. So Ever My Heart Rises and Gaunberry Gone are 2 of the cards I really want to find, and having some dwarf allies, of course, is super important. The only bummer is I drew my 1 copy of the Dwarven Shield, and that's my only piece of armor in this deck. And you'll see why that's a bummer later. But I'm definitely keeping the hand. Now we discard cards till we get an enemy or location, and we get a bat, which is awesome because the Surge doesn't trigger because you discard and then add it, and it's just a little wimpy 1-threat enemy. So yeah, that's awesome. I will definitely take that. We drew a Warden of Healing at the start of the game. Now let's talk about Ever My Heart Rises. Cost 0. You attach to a dwarf character, and then response, after you travel to a mountain or underground location, ready attached character, and reduce your threat by 1. That's amazing, because all the locations in this quest will trigger that condition attachment. So I will always be able to ready Thorin Oakenshield when I travel, and I'll get to drop my threat by 1. And in a quest where you're being forced to increase your threat at the beginning of every quest phase, or add another location to staging, constant threat reduction is pretty amazing. Speaking of threat reduction, we're going to play the Erebor Record Keeper. He's going to quest for 1, can't attack or defend, but because I played him from my hand, I will drop my threat by 1 thanks to Nori. And then I'm going to move Nori's resource to Biffer so I can play Gaunberry Gone next turn. And now we need to go into the quest phase. You start out by discarding cards, so we get a location. There goes a werewolf, there goes a bat, there goes a werewolf. There goes a condition attachment. There goes a nasty treachery. There goes a spider. Wow, there goes a troll. Holy cow, I think I would have lost if we just played this quest normal because I would have got enemy swarmed like crazy. But instead we get a 4-threat location, which really stinks. It's the Iron Hills Mine, 4/4. And while it's the active location, if it's explored, we get to return a card from our discard pile to our hand, and then to travel there, we discard the top 4 cards of our deck to travel there. It's kind of nice to do that with a deck where you're looking for certain cards. Maybe you'll discard it and you get to pull it back into your hand. But it is 4 threat, so I'd either have to raise my threat by 4 or I leave 4 threat in staging. I mean, that's not a great choice. And it doesn't have the deep keyword, so it doesn't help me add a location to the victory display. The cards in the Caves deck are how you advance. Okay, our standard card we reveal is another location. It's the Deep Chasm. It's 2 threat, 6 progress, and then when faced with the option to travel, we must travel there. So we're going to make 1 progress on a quest that doesn't need any. So let's travel to this location. It's underground, so Ever My Heart triggers. I ready Thorin. I drop my threat by 1. And because this has the deep keyword, that means you grab a location from the Caves deck. So let's make sure I shuffled it. And then the location from the Caves deck now is the active location. And we get, the Underground Lake. It's XX, and this is the reason Gaunberry Gone is in this deck. X is the number of characters controlled by the player with the most characters, and then forced after an ally enters play, exhaust it. So it's really hard to clear, and you're constantly putting in allies that are just exhausting as soon as you put them in. So it's really tough. If you don't already have a lot of willpower on the table, that could just sit there and let your staging area just pile up with locations. So you got to get rid of that thing as soon as possible. All right, let's go into engagements. We got to take care of this bat. It's a pretty wimpy enemy, but if the active location has the dark trait, we can't damage it. So it's annoying more than harmful. So we're going to defend with Thorin, and there's no shadow. Thorin will take a damage. Even if we had a ready character, we couldn't attack back. And then now we will go into the next round. All right, next round, the card we draw is, my single copy of Thor's Key. So it blanks the text box of a location just added to the staging area if you attach it to it. There are some great choices for that in this quest. So lots of locations being added to the staging area. So let's put that on Nori. We spend 1 spirit resource. And now Gaunberry Gone's going to come into play. His willpower is equal to the threat of the active location. So you can see why he's amazing. He does come in exhausted because that location makes all our allies come in exhausted. And then I'm going to be saving up my leadership resources so I can put in Glowin on the next turn, and I'll finally get to 5 dwarves. All right, so let's discard until we get a location. It's a contested depths. That's not bad for Thor's Key because it would stay a 1. It gets +1 threat for every location in the victory display, and then it has a forced effect if we travel there. But I don't want bunch of locations in my staging area. I know I'm going to get more, so I'm just going to raise my threat by 1 and get rid of it. That's what the quest card lets you do. You either add it or you raise your threat by the location's threat. So that was just a 1. That's fine. I'm going to leave Nori ready in quest of everybody else. I know I can't clear this 5 progress location, and we get Eyes in the Dark, Doomed 1, and then each player must choose either raise your threat by 1 for each questing character or discard a questing character I control. Ah, jeez. Okay, I don't want to lose one of my dwarves, so I'm just going to raise my threat by 3. Like I said, threat reduction is so important in this quest. And so I added no threat, which is nice. I am going to place a couple progress on this active location. So next turn, Gonberry Gone is going to be able to help me clear that thing. And now, once again, getting attacked by the bats. Nori defends for 2, and there is a shadow. Crap, attacking enemy makes an additional attack. Okay, I had a plan. That shadow ruins it. Now I got to take it undefended, and it's... son of a gun! If it's undefended, I got to discard a character I control. I end up losing the record keeper anyway. Well, I'm glad I handled the treachery the way I did, because I would have had to have discarded Gone, which would have really stunk. Gone would have been gone? Okay, well, I'm going to have a hard time getting to my 5 dwarves now. So let's go into the next round. Biffer took the 2 damage from the undefended attack, and we draw, yes! A second copy of Ever My Heart Rises. It's not unique, so I can play it. So Nori will now be able to ready, and I'll be able to drop my threat by 2 whenever I travel. So that's super awesome. And now I don't want to play Glowin, because he lets you collect 2 resources when he enters play if you have 5 dwarves, and I would only have 4. And my other dwarf is too expensive. It's Gimli. So I think I'll move Thorin's resource over to Biffer, and we're going to pop in the Warden of Healing. He'll be exhausted, of course, thanks to the Underground Lake, but it does increase Gonberry Gone's willpower by 1, because the threat of the active location is now a 5. So I'll be able to quest for 5 with him, and we should be able to clear it this round. So let's discard until we get a location. There we go. Okay, it's the Dark Tunnel. So while it's in the staging area, you can't place progress on locations in the staging area if they have the dark trait. Well, I don't have any cards in my hand that place progress on locations in staging right now, so I'm not going to put the key on it. I'll probably just end up traveling there if I make enough progress to advance. And even with Gonberry Gone questing for 5, Thorin questing for 3, I'm still not generating a ton of willpower. And so I'm just going to try to clear this active location, and if I don't, I will definitely have to take the Bat's attack undefended, and maybe another enemy will come down. So it's looking pretty bad. I need a little luck here with what I reveal. And we get a Surging Treachery, because it makes the highest attack enemy attack you from the staging area. So if there's no enemy, it surges. And we get a Giant Spider, which is a 2-threat enemy that's going to engage me. The good news is we make 3 progress. So we just barely were able to sneak out of this underground lake. That goes in the victory display. And now we're going to travel somewhere, so I think I will travel to the 4-threat location. So when we travel there, I need to discard the top 4 cards of my deck. There's a couple cards I'm looking for, so I'm hoping to find them. But first, let's not forget, Ever My Heart Rises triggers. So I get to drop my threat by 2 and ready Nori and Thorin. Top 4 cards going in the discard pile. So one's going to be a Ziggy, one's another Ever My Heart Rises, Ancient Matham, and Biffer. Whoops, I was supposed to take him out of the deck. So I'm putting them in my discard pile in the correct order. So Ever My Heart Rises is in there, Ancient Matham is in there, that's nice. And now the Spider's coming down, that's not nice. So we have the Bat and the Spider. If that damages somebody with his attack, that character cannot ready until the end of the round. So somebody's not going to be able to ready, because nobody can defend that Spider without taking damage. So I'm trying to decide how I want to do this. The active location currently doesn't have the dark trait, so I can hit the bats. Okay, no shadow on the Spider, so Nori's going to take a damage, and that means he cannot ready. So I'm going to put the Gandalf token on there to remind me that he can't ready. And then the bats, we're going to do undefended, and it says discard an attachment I control. I guess that means the key. I need my threat reduction. So the key goes away. And now we have 2 undefended damage being placed somewhere. I'm going to place that on Nori. And now Thorin can attack for 3 and kill the bats, because the active location is not dark traded. And yeah, that's not bad. All right, let's go into the next round. And I'm really hoping I draw a dwarf that I want to get into play right now. The dwarf army is not coming. Nope, we get the Evening Star. That places progress on locations. Great card, but not what I need right now. Yeah, the dwarf army losing that record keeper hurts because I can't afford Gimli and I don't want to put Glowin in yet. So let's use the Warden and do some healing. Oh boy. Okay, quest phase, I guess. Let's discard until we get a location. So we're going to discard. That's not a location. Nope, I'm glad. Okay, so we get another one of these contested depths. I wish I had my key, because then it would only be a 1 threat if I attached the key to it. So I'm just going to raise my threat by 2, because it gets +1 threat for every location in the victory display. So it was a 2 threat. So I don't want to add that threat to staging. We're up against 3. Gone is questing for 4. And then, let's see, that's 3 more, so that's 7. I'd really like to clear this location, and right now I'm only making 4 progress, so I guess I'll send Biffer as well. So we are sending 2 more for 9, and we get the Forked Passage. It has a deep keyword, but you can raise your threat to kind of look at the top 2 cards of the cave deck and decide which one to go to. So I only added 2 threat, and once again, we just barely clear this location. I am getting very lucky with just making enough progress. So now I get to pull a card back out of my discard pile. Ever My Heart Rises, I could have all 3 of my heroes being triggered off of that, and I could also grab this record keeper. Oh man, it's a tough call. Like, there's a bunch of cards from my discard pile I want, but honestly, I've played this quest enough with this deck, and I just know dropping my threat is super, super important. Plus, I can get action advantage out of my heroes. So I am going to grab my 3rd copy of Ever My Heart Rises. And now I'm going to travel to the Deep Tunnel. The deep keyword triggers, so you take the top card of the Caves deck and replace it. And we get the, oh boy, the Crumbling Cavern. It's a 6/6. Goneberry Gone likes that. And then forced after it becomes the active location. Each player assigns X damage among characters he controls, where X is the number of characters he controls. That's no good, but I am glad that Goneberry Gone's going to quest for 6. You know, there are 2 nice locations in the cave deck. It would have been nice to have found one of those. All right, so let's deal out the 5 damage, which is going to make almost all my characters 1 hit point away from death, and I still have to defend this 3 attack spider. So I'm not doing good. The dwarf army did not come into play, and I am really hurting. All right, let's not forget Ever My Heart Rises triggers, so I dropped my threat by 2. And Nori and Thorin are now both ready. And the spider is going to attack. And the spider is attacking for 3, which is not great. I could easily lose the game right here. So let's see. Thorin defends. And the shadow is nothing. Okay, so Thorin takes 2 more damage. And basically all my characters are 1 hit point away from dying. So yeah, this is a hard quest. So let's go into the next round and hopefully I can get the dwarf army going this round. All right, so we are going into the next round. The card I draw is... Okay, we are not idle, so it's been errated. So you exhaust X dwarf heroes and add X resources to a hero's resource pool and then draw a card. It's free to play. I really don't have any ready heroes right now to handle that, but it's just an action, so you can do it at any phase. Let's play my 3rd Ever My Heart Rises. That's the only thing this deck is doing right at this point. And then, yeah, I got the resources, so let's play Gimli. So he's a 2/2/2/3, and then after you reveal an enemy, if he was committed to the quest, he would ready. So that's awesome. So I'm going to get him in play. So now we have 4 dwarves. Now, before we go to the quest phase, let's play the Evening Star. So we're going to spend 2 lore resources. We're going to clear that location, have nothing in staging to make questing easier. Now let's discard till we get a location, and yes! It's the one that stops me from placing progress on locations in the staging area if they have the dark trait. So I'm glad I triggered Ever My Heart Rises. I'm glad I triggered the Evening Star before I discarded till I got a location. Okay. 6 progress needed to clear this thing, and then I'll be able to travel again and ready all my heroes. So let's just assume I'm going to clear it. I have to play with the thought in mind that I am going to clear the active location and then travel again, because if I don't clear the active location, I think I pretty much lose anyway. We reveal another Forked Passage, so it's 2 threat, which means we make 7 progress. So we do clear that Crumbling Cavern. That's nice. Now we're going to travel to the 3 threat location. So you trigger the deep keyword, but before I do that, let's ready everybody, and let's drop my threat by 3. So now the deep keyword triggers, so you discard the location and you replace it with the top cave deck, and it's, crap, it's the Frightful Den. So when it becomes active, you need to shuffle the discard pile in and then discard cards to get an enemy and add it to the staging area. So, yep, I could easily die here. Yep, I'm so scared I drop it. So it's just, I mean, dwarves, right? I mean, everybody's played dwarves. You know how powerful they are, and I'm barely alive here. So let's just do a good shuffle, and we're going to discard till we get an enemy. And if I have to engage it, I'm kind of screwed. So let's see. Oh, okay, it's just the bats. They are going to engage me. That's no good. So I'm engaged with 2 enemies, and they are both attacking me, and my heroes are all almost dead. So, yeah. Yeah, good luck. Okay, Biffer defending for 2 against 3. No shadow. He could have died. So Biffer will take 1 damage, and now he can't ready because he got damaged by the spider. And then the bats are attacking for 2, so it's 2 against 2. Whew. Okay, no shadow. Living on a knife's edge here. And then the active location has the dark trait, so I can't attack the bats. So I only can attack the spider, and we deal 1 whole damage. Yikes, guys. Yikes. I feel like this is a make it or break it round. If I don't get something going here, I'm going to just sputter out and die. Okay, we draw Bulwark of the West. That is a condition removal card, because that extra encounter set that's set aside right now, those are all condition attachments, so we need to get rid of those when they come into play, if I make it that far. All right, we are not idle. I'm going to exhaust Nori, so I get 1 resource that I'm going to put on Thorin, and we also get to draw a card, and holy cow, it's Keely. Okay, we have a hope here, a fool's hope. So Keely comes into play for 3, and that lets me drop my threat by 1, and then I get to search my deck for Keely. So now I've hit the 5 dwarf threshold, finally. What is it, round 17? And wow, look at all the cards on the bottom of my deck that were all my card draw cards. No wonder this deck is stalling out. All the Daron's runes and everything were at the bottom of my deck. But anyway, when you play one of the brothers, you get to find the other one from your deck and put it into play. I only get to drop my threat by 1, thanks to Nori, because Nori says from your hand, but I also just got 2 dwarfs in play. So Thorin's going to get an extra resource next round, assuming I make it to the next round. Okay, that's great. I'm really, really glad to see that. This that gives me a lot of hope. Feely, Keely, and Gimli now. That's great. I cannot afford Glowin, but I can afford this Dwarven Shield, so it gives the attached hero +1 defense. And then if you take damage in an attack, you collect a resource. Maybe I should have played that earlier. Might have made a mistake there. Extra defense could have been helpful. I think I will put it on Nori, so he defends for 3. And once again, I just have to assume I'm clearing this active location and traveling to a underground or mountain. I just have to keep living on that edge. Okay, the Warden's going to do some healing. I wish I could use him about 20 times, to be honest. So let's heal Biffer and Thorin. Now we're going to discard till we get a location, and I think it's the... Yeah, okay, so it's the Deep Chasm, so it's the one you have to travel to, and it's only 2 threat. Let's do some quick math. Yeah, I think I can handle a 2 threat in staging. So now, questing. I think it's right here I realized, oh yeah, Nori's not ready. Maybe I shouldn't have kept that location. This is so hard. Okay, well, Gonberry Gone is questing for a lot, and oh boy, let's see. So if I send 8 against 4, and I have to make 4, that's not enough. I need to send more than that. So Gimli will also be sent. So now it's 10 against 4, I guess. And all right, we get another Deep Chasm. So once again, I only reveal 2 threat, and I make exactly what I need. Wow. Wow. Razor edge here. I mean, it's just kind of crazy. And that's our 3rd victory point location. So we are going to advance. Kind of glad, because I was going to get location locked if I had to stay here any longer. So now we're going to go to the lower depths, 2A. We're going to add the Dragon's Horde to the bottom of the caves deck. The Fire Drake is going to go into the staging area, and then the Dragon's Might encounter set is going to go into the encounter deck. Okay, that's fun. So let's take a look at the Fire Drake. He's 35 engagement, X threat, X defense, 7 attack, 17 hit points dragon. He cannot have non-dragon attachments. X is 1 more than the number of players, so those will be 2. And then forest, After the active location is explored, Fire Drake returns to the staging area and makes an immediate attack against each player in turn order. That's very difficult, and that's another reason to keep your threat down so we don't have to engage this guy, get attacked in the combat phase, and get attacked when we're clearing locations. Okay, so let's look at side 2B. No progress needed. The Fire Drake cannot leave the staging area or take damage. And then after the Dragon Horde becomes the active location, we're going to advance. And we can remove 5 progress from this quest stage after questing to look at the top 2 cards of the Caves deck and put 1 on the bottom. So it helps us find the Dragon's Horde thing. All right, let's travel to the chasm. So that's going to ready all 3 of my heroes and drop my threat by 3. And now it was deep, so let's see what we got. And finally, all right, it's the Ancient Treasury. So it's a 3/3, and then response, after it becomes the active location, we can either draw 2 cards, add a resource, or drop our threat by 3. So finally a good one, and we get 2 card draw cards. Thank you. Finally, where is my Legacy of Durin? I wish I didn't have 2 enemies engaged with me, because this would be a perfect time to exhaust all 3 of my heroes for that We Are Not Idle and get a bunch of resources and draw a card. But I have some combat to deal with here. So we got a bat and a spider attacking us. Nori's defending for 3 against 3. No shadow. Ooh, goodbye, one of those nasty condition attachments. Okay, so I don't take any damage, so I don't get a resource. But I also don't take damage, so that's great. And then one of the brothers, I forget which one, jumps in front of the bat. And we get 1 damage there. And then because the active location is not dark, that means Thorin can kill this bat. So let's kill the bat while we can. And okay, I mean, things are looking okay now. It was really touch and go there for a while, but now I get 2 resources on Thorin, and I have a dwarf army that didn't die. I have the Warden of Healing to start knocking off some of this damage, and we draw another We Are Not Idle. So yeah, all my card draw just was at the bottom of the deck, and then in the shuffling, it came up to the top. So let's play Daron's Runes. We're going to draw 2 cards. I get Untroubled by Darkness is a great questing card if you're underground, which I always am. Alrighty, I need to discard a card to that Daron's Runes. It's going to be that Untroubled by Darkness. I just forget to do it. I remember in a moment. Alright, let's play We Are Not Idle after exhausting Thorin to get a resource. No, I'm going to exhaust Biffer. Yeah, I want to exhaust Biffer, put the resource on Thorin from We Are Not Idle. You get to draw a card. It's Daron's Runes. That reminds me, I never put a card in my discard pile from the first Daron's Runes. Yeah, so it's like all those cards that were at the bottom of my deck, when I reshuffled, they all ended up on top. So that's good. Okay, so let's play another Daron's Runes. There's my Legacy of Durin. And then we also get Ancient Matham, which is card draw. So now I need to discard another card. I have a Miner of the Iron Hills in hand, so that is also condition removal. So I don't need 2 condition removal cards. So let's discard Bulwark of the West. You have to discard an ally to discard a condition attachment. We're going to spend 1 lore resource to put Legacy of Durin on a dwarf. So now when I play a dwarf, I get to exhaust it and draw a card. So now we're rocking and rolling. Glowin's going to come in. He costs 3. Because I played a dwarf in my hand, I drop my threat. Because I played a dwarf, I get to exhaust Legacy of Durin. That's been eroded. It used to never exhaust. And I get to draw a card. Glowin places 2 resources on a hero when he enters play, so a lot just happened there. The card I drew is a Record Keeper. Let's put him in play. I get to drop my threat again. So there we go. Now we're going. This could easily happen on turn 3 if the deck wanted it to. It didn't. And so that's how you could make it through the first stage a little easier if your dwarf deck actually fired on turn 3. It took me quite a few rounds before I actually started getting the whole combos going. I put some Ancient Matham on the Treasury. Kind of makes sense. So when we explore that, we're going to draw 3 cards. I'm going to quest for 8, and we're up against 6. I don't think that's enough. We no longer have to do the location thing. Let's send Glowin as well. So now we are sending 10 against 6. And okay, here we go. Dragon Scales. It surges. And now when the Fire Drake takes damage, you discard that instead. I'm not too anxious to clear this active location because I don't want to get attacked by the dragon. Oh, man. We get attacked by the dragon. The highest attacked enemy makes an attack against you. Jeez. Nothing's going right. All right, well, it's just an attack of 7. All right, let's have the damaged brother take the attack. Goodbye, Shadow. That does nothing, but yep, I lose I can never remember watching these replays, which one's Keely and which one's Feely, because I can't read the names when I'm doing these voiceovers. So, and I do clear the active location. So that wasn't really the plan. I was hoping to add a little bit of threat. I get to draw 3 cards. That's nice. Okay, another Evening Star, Hail of Stones, and another condition removal. But because we cleared the active location, we are getting attacked again. So another 7 attack coming down. The Dwarf Army, as quickly as it's added, it goes away. And the shadow is the defending character cannot ready. Well, no crap. He is in many pieces in a mass grave somewhere from this quest. Good lord. All right. Another character bites the dust there. We're going to travel. So we get to ready all 3 heroes and drop our threat by 3. That is very fun. That feels very good. And then there we go, the Lost Armory. So you get to search your deck for an armor or weapon attachment and add it to your hand. I only have 1 in the whole deck. It's that shield, so it does nothing, but it's also not a bad location. So I'm glad that we didn't have to do anything terrible. We are going to do some healing. We are going to defend 3 against 3, and the shadow is, oh my god, that card wrecked me twice in the same round. Attacking enemy makes an additional attack. Okay. Gimli, I guess. So Gimli will defend 2 against 2, and the shadow is, if the activation has the dark trait, we cannot damage the enemy. Okay, so Gimli takes a hit. He can't ready, so that's no good, and the activation does not have the dark trait, so I can attack for 1 plus 3 is 4, and we finally kill the spider. So took a long time, but we have finally cleared out all the enemies we've been engaged with. That spider, I mean, it wrecked me for many, many rounds in a row, damaging characters so they can't ready the next round. This game would have went a lot easier if I never had that spider engage me. I would have been able to have more characters ready and done a lot more. So in my hand, I now have Lure of Moria and Hail of Stones, and those are the 2 cards that I need to help me beat this quest in the final stage. So I'm going to be holding on to those guys. So I'd like to draw a card. Let's play We Are Not Idle. I'm going to exhaust Biffer, and I'm going to put the resource on Nori, and then I get to draw a card from We Are Not Idle. So let's do that. The card I draw is my second Hail of Stones. That's actually really good. I need that. I usually draw my entire deck playing this deck. Okay, Miner of the Iron Hills coming into play for 2 lore resources, so it drops my threat. Legacy of Durin draws me a card. It's some ancient Metham. And then the Miner of the Iron Hills discards a condition attachment, so we will get rid of the scales, so that's good. Let's put some Metham on the Armory. Once again, kind of makes sense. And I think we're ready to go into the quest phase. I have nothing but events in my hand. So let's go. No more discard cards till I get a location thing. So that's excellent. And I went into this quest stage with enough locations and staging to help me get through the cave deck. So that was important. Okay, I am going to be sending 10. I'm up against 4. I'm going to do some healing. And the card we reveal... okay, it's that 4 threat Iron Hills Mine. So we added 4 threat, which means we make 2 progress. I should really be keeping track of how many times I made just enough progress to clear the active location. Okay, Ancient Matham's going to trigger. So let's draw 3 cards. Another copy of Gone, another Lure of Moria, and another Daron's Runes. Okie dokie. So now we just cleared the active, so we're getting attacked by a dragon. And the Miner of the Iron Hills, thank you for removing the scales. Now, goodbye. And then deal 1 damage to the defender. Oh yeah, 1 hit point chumps against the dragon. I kind of forgot that was a thing. So when I defended the dragon with the 1 hit point Keely or Feely, I could have lost a hero because he would have died before I dealt out the dragon's damage. Okay, so I lose another dwarf. Quite a few dwarves losing their lives to this quest. It's not very forgiving. All right, which one of these do I want to travel to? I think I will go to the Forked Passage. The Forked Passage lets you raise your threat by 2, and then you can look at the top 2 cards of the Caves deck and decide which one to go to. But I only have 2 left, so I know the bottom one is the Dragon Horde. And I'm not quite ready to advance yet, so we are going to go to the top location of the Caves deck, and it's, in my opinion, the worst one. It's the Lightless Grotto, or Evil Smurf Village. It's a 5/5 underground dark forest. After the players commit characters to the quest, discard cards from the encounter deck until you get a Treasury and reveal it. So absolutely terrible. That is why I used to have Ancestral Knowledge in my deck. You exhaust a dwarf and you can place 4 progress on the active. But I couldn't ever really get it to work because I basically needed to trigger that event plus one more event that also placed progress. And it was just really hard to pull off. So you really just have to kind of suffer through this location one time and hopefully clear it. But I did think dwarves would be good at getting rid of it because they do have a event that placed 4 progress on an underground location, but it was actually pretty hard to pull off. But Gonberry Gone actually helps you get through it on one round because, you know, he'll be questing for 5. Okay, so we're in the next round. Daron's Runes being played again. Ooh, there we go. Narvi's Belt and the Hammersmith. So I absolutely needed Narvi's Belt, and the Hammersmith was one way to dig it out of my discard pile if it got discarded, and just drawing it is key. So Narvi's Belt, you exhaust it, and the resources in that hero's resource pool can be spent as any sphere when you exhaust it. You name the sphere, and then you can spend resources however you want. And then I'm going to play the Hammersmith, and he pulls back my top attachment, and it's currently an Ancient Matham. So I could get more card draw if I play the Hammersmith. I also have 1 copy of the Evening Star in my discard pile, so if I played that event, I could place 4 progress on a location, which is just enough to not clear the Lightless Grotto. So the Hammersmith comes in, I drop my threat by 1, I'm going to draw a card. It's a Ziggy, and then he lets me pull back my topmost attachment, so it's going to be that Ancient Matham. Alright, before we go questing, let's do some healing. So Bifford takes damage off, and so does Gimli. And then now we are going to commit to the quest. So Gonberry Gone is questing for 5. There's 3 more. I'm going to send all my heroes because they should be able to ready once we clear this active location. So there's 7 more. So we are sending a total of 15. We are up against 6. And Eyes in the Dark. So doomed 1, and then I either have to raise my threat for each questing character or discard 1. Well, my threat is super low, so I'd have to raise it by 6. I can handle that. I'm going to drop it by 3 when I clear this. So that Treachery was because of the Lightless Grotto. You have to reveal a Treachery, so I would have had to discard till I got one. And then now we're going to reveal our actual card. Oh, this ain't good. So it's the Contested Depths, and there's 5 locations in the victory display. So that is actually a 6 threat location. There's actually a card in my deck that would have helped me with that, but I don't have it in play. So I only make 4 progress. This is unexpected. I did not think I would have any problem clearing this location, and I'm 1 progress short. Huh. Kind of in shock. Okay. So I don't get attacked by a dragon, and yeah, I guess we'll just go to the next round. That was unexpected. The Hammersmith was going to eat the dragon's attack, but yeah, okay. I guess I could have quested with Gimli. I don't know why I didn't. All right, next round. The card we draw is another Legacy of Durin. Okay, I don't need that. Why didn't I quest with Gimli? He would have readied if I got an enemy. Oh, well. Okay. Okay, Ziggy's coming into play for 2. I drop my threat, and I'm going to draw a card, and we get the 3rd Legacy of Durin. Something else I could have done is passed a resource to Biffer and then played the Evening Star. That would have let me clear the active location, plus place some progress. But let's do it now. I mean, there's really no hurry to advance. I'm in no rush, like I'm not going to throw it out or anything. So Evening Star places 2 progress on a location, then 2 more progress on a location for every copy in your discard pile. So I'm going to place 2 on the mine in the staging area. I'm going to draw these 3 cards while I'm still in the planning phase, so that's nice. I got 3 dwarfs. That's pretty cool. And then because I cleared the active location, I'm going to get attacked by the Fire Drake, so I don't want a 1 hit point character defending, so let's have the Record Keeper, or the Hammersmith defend. No Shadow. He's dead. I do believe there's still a copy of the Werewolf, which has the deal 1 damage to the defender Shadow. Okay, I'm going to send a resource over to Biffer so I can play this Erebor Record Keeper, and that's going to let me drop my threat by 1. I already triggered Legacy of Durin, so I don't get to trigger that again. And I think that's it for planning. So let's go questing. No active location, so Gonberry Gone is not questing for anything. So that means I can't send as much willpower as I have been. So we are sending 14, and we are up against 13. And we reveal a 3-threat location. Okay, so we are underquesting by 2. I have a spirit resource and I have Biffer in hand. Is it? No, wait. Bofer. Bofer, that's it. And Bofer has a quest action. He can come into play exhausted and committed to the quests for 1 spirit resource. So I'm going to do that. So that's going to give me 2 more willpower, which means we quest even, which means we do not quest successfully. Questing even is not questing successfully. And so if you did not quest successfully, you get to keep Bofer in play. So Bofer is going to stay in play, which is pretty awesome. So for 1 resource, we got him in play. Now we're going to travel to the contested depths, and I can either raise my threat by the number of locations in the victory display, or I can trigger the deep keyword, basically. There is currently 6 locations in the victory display, but traveling there reduces my threat by 3 thanks to my Ever My Heart Rises. So basically, I raise my threat by 3 is what it ends up doing. And that's fine. I'm not ready to advance yet. I don't want to reveal the Dragon Horde. That's the only location left in the Caves deck. And so I know that would come out, which would advance us to the next quest stage. And I'm not ready to do that quite yet. Let's heal all the damage on the board. And then we're going to go on to the next round. So raise my threat. Everyone gets resources. Thorin gets 2. The card we draw is... okay, great. Dwalin. So he only costs 1 if you control at least 5 dwarf characters. So let's put him right in play. So a 1-cost dwarf. That is fantastic. And so drop my threat. Draw a card. The card we draw is... Well, there he is. So there's Bomber. The Bomber. So you can exhaust him to cancel the threat of a location and staging if it's underground or mountains. And that would have been really nice to have had him in play a couple rounds ago. I don't really need him now. Gombury Gone is going to be questing for 7. And what I need to do is have 5 resources on Thorin the round that I think is going to be my final round of the game. So I don't want to move any resources or spend resources off of Thorin Oakenshield unless I have to. So I don't want to trigger Narvi's Belt to put in a lore card, for example, to help Biffer pay for something. I need to keep those resources on Thorin, and you're going to see why. So we're just going to commit to the quest. We are up against 9 threat, and the active location has 5. And so let's assume I'm going to reveal at least 4 threat. So if I send 20, that should be good. So I will send 20 on the quest. Okay, here we go. The card we get is, Afraid of the Dark. So I got to attach it to a questing hero, and then that hero's text box is blank. They're removed from the quest, and their willpower is 0. I was going to put it on Biffer, but I'd actually like to keep his text box active. So let's put it on Nori, and let's see if I remember that his text box is blanked in future rounds. It's going to be hard to remember that, to be honest, because it's buried underneath all these other attachments. But at any rate, we cleared the active location, so now we're getting attacked by the Fire Drake. I don't want to defend with anybody who only has 1 hit point. We actually made some progress on the quest, but that doesn't matter. So I will defend this with, I guess, Dwalin. I mean, he only cost 1, and he has all those hit points, so he's not going to die before the attack is done. The Shadow is... The defending character couldn't ready. Well, he's dead. So once again, another dwarf has fallen to the Fire Drake. We're going to travel to this deep tunnel or dark tunnel, whatever it was called. That readies my heroes. I drop my threat by 3. It triggers the deep keyword, and we get the Dragon Horde. It's a 7/7. It's immune. The Fire Drake cannot take damage, and then if I had an artifact in my hand, I'd be able to attach it to this. But it doesn't matter, I don't have any. Okay, so now we advance to stage 3, the Fireworm. 3A, when revealed, search the encounter deck and discard pile for a Dragon Treasury and attach it to the Fire Drake if able. Shuffle the encounter deck. Okay, so that's one of those cards from the Dragon Might encounter set that we shuffled in. So I got to find one of those. There's one. It's a condition attachment. Ooh, and there's the werewolf. That's the deal a damage to a defender. So that shadow was in there. So I was being careful on purpose. Okay, so this condition attachment is really nasty because when the Fire Drake makes an attack against you, you must then deal 1 damage to each character you control. Obviously, that's horrible. So condition removal is super important for this quest. Okay, 3B, the Fireworm. We're going to ignore the deep keyword. Forced. After players declare X attackers against the Fire Drake, we must then remove X progress from this stage. So we have to put progress on there before we can start making any attacks. Otherwise, we have to cancel the attack. If we can kill the Fire Drake, we win the quest. So let's focus on that. Now, right now, the Dragon Horde is active, and that says the Fire Drake can't take damage. So we have to clear the Dragon's Horde before we can deal any damage to the Fire Drake. There's nothing else to do right now, so we will just go into the next round. Okay, our threat is nice and low, so the Fire Drake is not engaging us. We draw Dory. He's a lore dwarf, and I don't want to use Narvi's Belt to pay for lore cards. I need to use it to pay for those Hail of Stones. So I'm going to spend Biffer's 2 resources on the Miner of the Iron Hills, and then I drop my threat after getting rid of the Dragon Breath, which is not what I'm supposed to do, because Nori's text box is blank. And then I go to get rid of this condition attachment, and I'm like, oh wait, no, I only can remove 1, but that still doesn't remind me that I couldn't have dropped my threat. Oh well. Legacy of Durin draws me another lore dwarf that costs 2. It's the Erebor Hammersmith. And I can send a resource from Nori over to Biffer and pay for that Hammersmith. So let's do that. Let's get another body on the table. I just need bodies on the table at this point, because as long as Thorin has 5 resources, I can win this quest in a really neat way. These dwarves, they can get their revenge. So let's play the Hammersmith. He pulls back my top attachment. It's Ancient Matham. The active location's immune, so I couldn't put it on there even if I wanted to. And yeah, I think we're good to go. So now the trick is, can I send the least amount of characters possible on the quests that will let me pull off my big trick here at the end? So I'm trying to math it out. I want to send enough to make the 7 progress on the quest, and that's about it. I don't want to send anything extra. So if I send Goneberry Gone, that's 7, and Thorin Oakenshield is 3 more, so that puts me at 10. And then Bofer for 2, Gimli for 2, and let's do Biffer for 2, and then 1 Record Keeper, and that's going to put me at 17, and I'm currently up against 6, so that's 11. So that means I can reveal 4 threat. I think 4 threat is about right. Now I'm just counting how many ready characters I have, trying to math this out perfectly. Now I'm counting how many dwarfs I have, so doing some math here. All right, let's see what we reveal. All right, it's just some stone troll that actually readies Gimli. I forget about that. But I'm just happy that everything worked out. So we cleared the active location. Active location is gone. Goodbye. Because we cleared the active location, we're going to get attacked. Because that active location is gone, the Fire Drake can now take damage. All right, Narvi's Belt. Till the end of the phase, I'm going to be able to pay for tactics cards. So let's spend a resource. I spend it in a minute. And I'm going to spend a resource on Hail of Stones and exhaust X characters and deal X damage to an enemy. I'm going to choose the Fire Drake. He is not immune, and he can take damage. So I just did 7 characters, so that is 7 damage on the Fire Drake. I'm doing this in the action window that opens up after the enemy attack initiates. Okay, now 3 more resources from Thorin to do Lure of Moria. That readies all of my dwarves. So all the dwarves are going to pop back up. Like I said, Gimli should have popped up when I revealed that enemy, but it's okay. So all my dwarves are popping back up. And now, still in that same action window, I'm going to play my second copy of Hail of Stones. So second copy of Hail of Stones. And then I'm going to exhaust all these dwarves I just readied, which is a total of 11. And so 11 plus 7 is 18. And it only takes 17 to kill the Fire Drake. So that is going to be enough damage to take down the Fire Drake. We didn't have to worry about placing progress on the actual quest card. Direct damage works. It's a trick I used way back in Watcher in the Water, and you can still pull off really neat things. So I'm just glad these dwarves were able to get their revenge on this dragon that's been killing off all their comrades, and we did it. So that was a fun way to take down this quest. I love it when the big boss enemy is not immune. It lets you do some really neat and interesting ways to take him out. Obviously, 17 direct damage is pretty tough to do, but dwarves can do it because Lure of Moria lets you ready them. And if you're lucky enough to have found 2 of your Hail of Stones, you can do this. And I was almost through my deck, and when I've played this deck against this quest, I've pretty much gone through the deck every time. So it's a pretty safe bet you're going to find both of those hailstones. All right, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this video. Take care. Bye-bye.